All right. Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast for the vikingage.com. And for those watching, welcome to the official YouTube page of the Viking Age. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. Make sure you follow the Viking Age on Twitter and Facebook. I am Adam Patrick. I'm the editor and lead writer for the Viking Age, and I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Chris Schad, who writes for us here at the Viking Age, and he also writes for other online publications as well. Before we get started into today's show, Chris, I've got a little trivia for you. So we talked about relative athletic scores back when we were doing shows before the draft. So I wanted to ask you, which former Vikings quarterback had a higher relative athletic score than Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Dak Prescott? Any guesses?
Wow, I feel like it's a trick question. Was it Sean Mannion by chance?
No, no, not even close.
I don't know.
No.
I mean, we all know what Sean Mannion can do. I mean, you guys don't see it every day, but I mean, Sean Mannion, there's a reason we brought him back. And it's not just to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for Kirk Cousins, who doesn't seem like a big PB&J guy. I'm just going to
No.
go there.
Plain
but
peanut butter. Plain peanut butter, definitely. Kirk Cousins. Just
you don't.
just peanut
Oh,
butter.
yeah, for sure.
It is Christian Ponder with a 9.55 relative athletic score.
That's
Higher.
why Desmond Ritter reminded me a lot of Christian Ponder through the draft process just because, he had he ran, what was it, a 4.5 40 or something? And everybody's like, oh wow, look at him. It's like, no, he doesn't play that fast.
Right.
If he's running in a straight line and training for a 40-yard dash, you can put up a good time. But I mean, when you're getting chased by, trying to think, like Von Miller, no, you're not going to run 4.5. I might run 4.5. I don't know. I probably couldn't throw a football accurately, but
Right.
I mean, I would hit top speed. That's for damn sure. But yeah.
Yeah, Ritter also floats the ball like Ponder as well.
Like a high school quarterback.
I was thinking that I think it was against the Cowboys when Ponder had to throw a Hail Mary, and it was from like his own or from the opponent's 40-yard line. He didn't even make it to the goal line, so that was a great Hail Mary.
At least it
Any
stayed in
guesses?
bounds, right?
It did. Any guesses on what Kirk Cousins' relative athletic score is? I got this one too.
Was it a 4?
Oh, very
I'll go
close. 4.07.
Okay.
And then Sean Mannion's, I believe, was in the 3s because I did look that up as well.
Kirk's athletic ability is more in his arm.
He can throw.
Than it is
He
his
can
legs.
throw. That's about it.
He can move a little bit, but he can't move to avoid a pass rush.
Yeah, it's not natural.
It's run for your life speed. That's what it is. It is run for your life speed. We'll leave it that way.
All right. We're gonna get into today's show. First topic is about Mr. Dalvin Cook. A lot of people are talking about how he's being used more as a receiver in OTAs, or at least that's the assumption that we are drawing from 3 OTA practices so far this year. So, earlier this week, the Vikings had a few OTA practices with both veterans and rookies participating. It was literally like the first opportunity for everyone to get kind of an idea of what this new offense under Kevin O'Connell might look like. And something that stood out, as I mentioned, is Dalvin Cook reportedly lining up out wide at receiver multiple times. And Cook also recently tweeted out a video of him catching a pass over the middle of the field from a game last season. Seemed rather timely. So this would all seem to indicate that Cook might be more involved in the Vikings passing attack next season, which is kind of interesting because Dalvin has caught more than 40 passes in 3 of his last 4 seasons. So it's not like he's not been involved, but apparently they want him to get even more involved, or just maybe different kinds of ways to get him involved. So my question to you, Chris, is just real simple. Over under 45 catches for Dalvin Cook in 2022.
I'm going to go under. And
Oh,
here's why. This is not a. So, like, when people hear this news, like, I own Dalvin Cook in fantasy. My fantasy team,
mhm.
the Schad experience, we're probably favored to win it again this year. You know, we got robbed last year when Justin Jackson and Alan Lazar basically ran over me in the semifinals. It was the worst Christmas ever. I know you all want to hear about it, but I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
going to go into deep detail except for I have Justin Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor on the same team and didn't win a fantasy football championship because the game is trash. But for Cook, this isn't about production as much as it is the illusion of complexity that
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell likes to talk about. I did some search for a research for a article that will drop at zonecoverage.com tomorrow. And it looked at Dalvin Cook's usage. And the big thing that I looked at was average depth of target. So
Right.
last year, Dalvin Cook had negative 1.8 yards as an average depth of target. That was 66 out of 67 running backs. 2020, negative 1.9, 57th out of 58. 2019, 1.6, negative 1.6, 43rd out of 46 running backs. Um,
Lots of screens.
so, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And when you look at the Rams, Darrell Henderson had 1.3 yards for an A dot last year, 0.8 in 2020. And I mean, the thing with Dalvin Cook's usage, because his numbers overall are great. He's ninth most running backs over the past 3 years with 131 receptions. He's got the eighth most yards receiving over the past 3 years with 1,104, but he only has one touchdown because he's running all these screens.
Yeah.
He lines up, like, the defense knows the only way Dalvin Cook is getting the ball with a pass is by a screen. And I mean, if they line him out wide or in the slot, like, that would be a huge improvement because last
Mhm.
year he only had 11.1% of his passing down snaps out wide or in the slot. The Rams, meanwhile, Darrell Henderson, he had
Oh, wow.
32.2% in the slot or out wide. So what that does is for the Vikings offense, you know, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen, you have Irv Smith Jr., you have Dalvin Cook, and now you don't know where Dalvin Cook is going to be. Is he going to be out wide? Is he going to be in the slot? Is he going to be wherever? It doesn't matter. And it's not going to be that Dalvin Cook is going to get the ball, but all it takes is one play, and Dalvin Cook has the ability to break that, and he can
Mhm.
go to the house. Case in point, Darrell Henderson only had 176 receiving yards last year. So it's not that Henderson's getting all these wide receiver reps and targets downfield.
Right.
It's that
Right.
he's lining up in different spots and making the defense go like, oh my God, why is he going out right? Why Justin Jefferson is there? Now Jefferson's the backfield. Or even, you know, if we want to go deeper, Alexander Madison. I mean, he's
Yep.
not that great of a receiving back, but they could use him out there. They could use Kene Wongwu, who
Mhm.
they just decided to ram into the middle of opposing defenses last year, or they could use Ty Chandler, who's got speed to
Yep.
burn. This is really exciting. And again, it's not from a fantasy football perspective because I think Cook is going to put up the same numbers that he
Yeah.
did last year, maybe a little bit better because they were the lowest since his rookie season.
Right.
But I think that having him all over the formation is going to make this offense even better, no matter who is lining up in the slot, out wide, in the backfield. Like, it's exciting.
Yeah, I think when some people see this, and including myself a little bit, when you first see this, like Dalvin Cook is lining up out wide, you're like, oh, he's gonna, become more of a threat in the passing attack. He's gonna be like Marshall Falk or Danian Tomlinson. I feel like I'm kind of dating myself with those references, but
Christian
those are
McCaffrey.
okay. Yeah, that's a better one.
Yeah.
Yes, because there these days there aren't a lot of running backs who are both can are three down backs and can be a receiver as well. But I'm leaning more towards what you're talking about as far as the illusion of complexity, where you're just trying to make the defense think and overthink and just not be ready for that one thing where they're not ready for. That's where you strike. So if it's like Irv Smith is open over the middle, you give it to Irv Smith. If it's Adam Thielen open in a post, you give it to him. Like whatever. allows you to get the advantage over the defense. And I think having Dalvin Cook out wide, like they put Justin Jefferson in the backfield a couple times last year. They did it like one game, it worked great, and then they never did it again, which is like why wouldn't you do that? That clearly confused the defense and it worked out well. I think it was against the Packers.
It's against the
Um,
Packers, yeah.
yeah, and they clearly worked really hard to drop game plans for that game, and then it was like the rest of the year, they're like, we'll just run screens to Dalvin Cook and stuff and go to Jefferson deep." But I do think, yeah, this having him line up out wide is more just about confusing the defense than it is getting the ball in Dalvin Cook's hands more. Now, we could be wrong too because I think um, the best season that Kirk Cousins had with the Vikings so far is when he has passed the fewest amount of time. So I feel like Dalvin Cook is still going to be a big piece of this offense next year. Justin Jefferson will be a big piece as well. But I think that just because, the Rams were successful without a top running back, not like Dalvin Cook, doesn't mean the Vikings can't utilize him because he's very good. And
Yeah.
it's just also another way to utilize his skills because he gets the ball in open space. He can turn a 1 yard gain into like a 15-yard gain. So get him in a bubble screen or something, or just over the middle. Like it's like seems like an easy play that can turn into something big.
Like, they didn't even have him run slant routes or anything last year.
Right.
Like,
Or drags or anything. Yeah.
or like, God, I can't think of that, but you run out and then you run in. Like, I use it on
Yeah.
NCAA all the time. Texas route, is that what it is? I don't
I
know.
I
I
don't
only told my friends I played football. I didn't actually play football, but yeah, I mean, all of those things, it's just exciting. Like,
yeah.
I think you and I have kind of been like, I don't know if this Kevin O'Connell thing is going to work. And I don't know either. But I mean, offensively, go back to last year. I feel like Mike Zimmer was playing puppet master with the offense, and Clint
Yeah.
Kubiak was basically his puppet, because at the beginning of the year, you had a lot of motion. You had a couple of things. I remember the Seattle game. Everybody was excited about the offense because they were putting in new techniques and new
Mhm.
motion things. And I don't know if Clint went into Zimmer's offense the next day, and Zimmer went, "Why all this offense? You got to stop using the internet." And like, everybody's brains melted when Justin Jefferson went into the backfield. And I swear to God, it was only one play. It was one play against the Packers that resulted in a touchdown. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, they used him in the backfield. What's going on?" And like, if we're going like that, what do you think Mike Zimmer was thinking? Just like, "Oh, what is he doing? What, Jefferson's in the back? Oh, he scored. Well, don't ever do it again. I only want Dalvin in the backfield." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited for an offense that adjusts, that looks at a defense and goes, okay, maybe they're taking away this. Let's do this because it's going to be successful. Or they're taking away the Detroit game. Justin Jefferson gets 7 receptions in the first half. They do double coverage and they're like, nah, can't throw him to him anymore. I assume Kevin O'Connell is going to say, okay, they're double bracketing us, but here's what we can do to meet that and get
Put him in
Jefferson
the
open
slot, move him all
and have
around. Yeah.
him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with all this stuff, I'll say it right now. I think Justin Jefferson's going to win the Triple Crown next year. Screw
Ooh.
you, Cooper Kupp. I think Justin
Wow.
Jefferson is going to lead the league in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns.
Oh boy.
That is barring the usual
Health.
Minnesota
Yeah.
catastrophic injury.
Watch those knees. Watch
But
those knees.
yeah, put the knees in bubble wrap. God, we were like last year. Remember that? Justin Jefferson landed wrong on his shoulder. We're like, oh my God, this is bad. Like,
Yeah.
don't put him anywhere near the field. He'll be fine.
I feel like he's good at avoiding, it's football. There's always going to be those
Mhm.
random hits that mess you up. But I think he's good at avoiding like serious contact. Unlike you look at someone like Dalvin Cook who just invites it and then he takes the brunt of it. And then we're like, why can't you stay healthy? But that's part of his game where he just, if you're going to try and tackle him, you got to bring your all. But yeah, Jefferson, I think I just wrote about it for the Viking Age. He was ranked the number one receiver by Pro Football Network going in the league next year. So yeah, he's good. He's very, and the scary thing is that Justin Jefferson probably hasn't reached his potential, which is ridiculous.
Triple Crown, baby.
But all right,
Telling
last question on Dalvin Cook here. I don't know if this is tough or not, but more catches next season, Dalvin Cook or Irv Smith Jr.
Irv Smith.
Yeah,
Dalvin only had 22 catches last year. So I
did he? I
mean,
thought he had over 30. I
I got it
thought he
pulled up
did.
right now. Actually,
I thought he
I
had
thought it was
36.
22. Oh, he had 224 yards receiving. So
Yeah,
that's
there
where
you
I
go.
got the 22 from. He had 34 receptions,
There we go.
but
There we
that
go.
was the lowest since he had 40 in 2018.
2018. Yeah.
So, and then you had 11 in 2017 in the first 4 games until his knee
Right.
exploded.
And he had
But
50. He had over 50 in 2019. Who was with what's his face? Kevin Stefanski as the OC. So he was pretty good. He had 13 touchdowns that year. He was pretty good. He was all right.
who plays more games, Dalvin Cook or Irv Smith Jr.? Because that could be something too.
I'll go with Dalvin. There's no reason. I mean, Dalvin's played more games than Irv Smith the last few years. Like Dalvin Cook gets labeled like with this injury tag, but he hasn't. He's missed, I think, either the same or less games than Adam Thielen over the last 3 years. So
I've seen Dalvin Cook produce. I have not seen Irv Smith
yes,
produce.
yes,
And I don't want to hear, well, the last 4 games he had they were all like 1 yard touchdowns. Like,
and I
okay.
think this moving him around too kind of puts him out of harm's way. Where screen passes and stuff, you got to dodge like 5 people. Where him being lined up out wide, he can just go across the middle, make some people miss, and then kind of just scoot out of bounds if he has to, which
Mm-hmm.
is a better play for his health. All right, moving on to the next topic. We're gonna talk a little quarterback, but not Kirk Cousins. Weird. We're gonna talk Kellen Mond, who appears to be out of the doghouse. Which I mean, you can be the judge and say whether he was because he didn't really play last year at all, and maybe that's why. But Mike Zimmer was there, and things just didn't go well. So last year the Vikings used a third round pick on Kellen Mond. His rookie season, nothing really great about it. He was only active for 1 game. And he played a tiny bit because Sean Mannion was hurt or something, and it was not a good showing. But he was kind of thrown into the fire without really being prepared. So I don't really blame him for any kind of performance that he had against the Packers last year in his only game. But the Vikings, they went out and signed Sean Mannion before the season because they didn't feel good enough about Mon being the top backup. Then of course Mike Zimmer had the not particularly comments last season when asked if he would like to get a longer look at Mond out on the field because he sees him every day. Um, so it just wasn't a good year for Kellen Mond, and no one expected him to play, but you know it's hard to have a bad year when you're the backup or the third string, but he kind of managed to do that. And I don't even know if any of it was really his fault. But this year he's got an offensive-minded head coach, Kevin O'Connell, who also used to be a former quarterback. So things already sound way, way better for Kellen Mond. And here is something that not Kellen Mond, that Kevin O'Connell had to say the other day about Mond's performance in OTAs so far this spring. So he said, Kellen's having a good spring so far, working incredibly hard, digesting the system. He made a couple of checks yesterday at the line of scrimmage that he wasn't prepared play by play for. He just instinctively did it. Those are the little things that you look for. So, Chris, um, sounds like things are going better for Mond, but here's my question for you. Is he a bust if he's unable to win the number 2 quarterback job this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're beating an assistant coach. Like your main competition, like Kellen Mond's MO should be to Terrence Newman, Sean Mannion. Because
Yep.
like remember Terrence Newman was out on the field and like he was like the player coach type thing.
Yep.
And they got to the end of the preseason. And they're just like, hey man, we really want to keep some of these younger guys. You want to be a coach? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So like he was just a coach on the sideline. Like that is what Kellen Mond needs to do. That being said, I don't think Sean Mannion's roster spot is in danger because he's such good friend. And like, I almost don't understand it because there's no limit to coaches you can have, right?
Right. Right.
Like
Yeah.
they
Well,
don't
they have
cap
they
it
have like
off at a
27
certain. I mean,
coaches already.
there's a game management coach. There's a
Yeah.
guy who basically played Madden all his life, being like, "Hey, dude, Kevin, you should take a time out here."
Do you think
Oh
they have
yeah,
the
good
like?
call, man. Good
Do you think
call.
they have like
Like
the holdback coach too that Sean McVay has? And does Kevin O'Connell need one of those? Where he has like the
the restraint, the seatbelt
yeah, yeah,
coach,
yeah, yeah.
the human seatbelt.
He could.
Um, isn't it? Isn't that guy like Deuce Gruden too, or is he like a
He's
strength and
like
conditioning?
he's like the
Okay,
athletic trainer or something. Yeah, yeah,
he could probably double as that though. I mean, I would
for
trust
sure,
him,
for
although
sure.
he'd probably like get way too into it and like slam me into a bench or something like a suplex or something.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I mean, so here's the thing with Kellen Mond. Like everybody got excited when he was taken because he was the 66th overall pick, right?
yeah.
And everybody's like, "Oh man, that's a pretty high pick. Like he could overthrow." Like some people were like, "Well, maybe he could overtake Kirk Cousins and eventually be the guy." Kellen Mond was never a starting quarterback prospect. He was too
Yeah.
inaccurate. I know he played 47 games at Texas A&M or whatever it was. He had experience. If you watched Kellen Mond play with the Aggies, you knew this guy wasn't an NFL quarterback. Great arm, great mobility,
Robot,
just
robot.
yeah,
He's a
very
robot.
robotic. And I also looked up an article I wrote about Kellen Mond right after Mike Zimmer's comments last December. And he said that Mond's deep throws were often flat and overthrown. Like the one thing that I'm reminded of when I think of Kellen Mond right outside of the draft was Chris Sims saying he had him ranked higher than Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields' adjusted completion percentage was around 80%. Like
Yeah,
Kellen Mond is basically, I think I tried to say this joke in our last show. I will get it right. It's like when you go, maybe you go to, Target or something and your kids are with you and the kids are like, "Dad, can we have Justin Fields?" And you're like, "No, we got Justin Fields at home." And it's like Kellen
hmm
Mond.
there
Like
you go.
that's what Kellen Mond is. He's a bootleg Justin Fields. And some people are like, "Well, Chris, I mean, Justin Fields wasn't that good with the Bears." Yeah, he might not be good either. But I mean, he is a better prospect as far as accuracy, as far as decision making, and as far as a lot of intangibles than Kellen Mond is. The good news for Mond is he has a coaching staff that will actually put in the time with him instead of, "Oh my God, we got to get this offense fixed because if we don't make the playoffs, we're fired." So I like the fact he's getting reps. I like the fact he's being allowed to talk to the media. Like we
Yeah,
know he's alive.
yeah,
But I mean, he needs to beat out Sean Mannion. If he's not, and if he doesn't, he'll get cut. Like it's plain and simple. They're not going to keep him around. They didn't draft him.
no,
So yeah, if he does not beat out Sean Mannion, he is a bust. Yes.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think what they're doing right now is good. They're giving him confidence, which I think at this point he needs. He needs someone to like,
Hmm?
tell him he's doing good and making good throws and cheering him on because last year it was nothing. Like I feel like he was a Spielman guy that Spielman wanted, and Zimmer wanted nothing to do with him. So he did nothing with him. Like literally, he was probably one of the guys that Zimmer ignored in the hallways when he walked by him and didn't say hi.
He probably didn't even know his
So
name. Who are you
probably
again?
he's like,
Are you?
yeah, yeah.
You
You-
probably mistook
yeah.
him for that. Who is that guy? What game was it? Like one of the like quality control people like took a swing at like a Ravens player or something. Was it the Ravens game?
Oh,
And like Zimmer's
oh
like, "It's
yeah,
not important who he is." Yeah, probably because he like Ozarked him behind the
yeah,
stadium after the
yeah.
game.
I always like his I always like his we talked to him responses. We talked to him. We talked to him. But yeah, yeah, like Kellen Mond. Yeah, if you look at Justin Fields and Kellen Mond and you think that Kellen Mond is a better prospect right now, then I don't know what to tell you because Justin Fields, much better college career. Yes, he had probably better teammates in college, but he also did well when plays broke down and stuff. And there's a reason why he won the first round. And now he's with the Bears, and they don't really have a lot to work with. So you can't really just, I feel like you can't really put it all on his shoulders until they get like some actual weapons, which I think they have. They're gonna have a lot of cap space next year, so they should be able to get things going next year. But yeah, if you don't beat Sean Mannion, like you shouldn't be playing in the NFL. Like Sean Mannion is not good. We saw last year. Like he threw what did he throw? Was last year his first touchdown pass in the NFL? I think it
Yes.
was. That
Yes,
was his
it
first
was.
touchdown. He's been in the league since like 2015, 2014. That was his first touchdown pass last year. So if you can't beat out Sean Mannion, and yeah, if Sean Mannion doesn't make the team, yes, make him an assistant coach. They should make him a coach anyways. Like that's what we keep hearing is like that's his purpose to be a coach on the sidelines, like make Xerox copies for Kirk, like do whatever for Kirk Cousins. But like why is there a roster spot for him? I will argue that till like the end of time. But yeah, if you don't beat Sean Mannion, you should not even probably be in the NFL. You should look. XFL is going to be starting up, after next season. Look into that.
The
USFL, if
Rock
that's
owns
still,
it now.
yeah, if USFL, if that's still
Wouldn't
around,
want to
give that a
work for The
shot.
Rock,
I mean, all the
you
games are going to
know?
be on ESPN, ABC, so you might as well. You're going to get noticed. And who knows what they're going to do in the XFL with rules? It's going to be like steel cage matches and everything. Hell in a cell. Uh, we'll see. But yeah, any like, do you have any expectations for Mon? Do you think he can beat out Mannion, or like what's your prediction? Do you think he will be the number 2 quarterback?
Okay, you asked expectations for Mond, and I'm like, no, I don't know what to expect. I don't know. Like
No,
the
yeah,
last time
that's
we saw him
fair.
was Kansas City, and it's just like the
Yeah,
guy looked exactly like he did in Green Bay. And
yeah,
I mean, remember what Jake Browning was a thing?
yeah, yeah. He was the savior because he was the only quarterback who
He's the only
didn't get COVID or
vaccinated
whatever.
quarterback, our hero.
Oh, and
Oh
Zimmer was
man,
profit. Zimmer was like he would hold him on his shoulders if he could have. But yeah, that's when they had like Case Cookus out on the field, like some random
Case Cookus.
other quarterback. I think they had assistant coaches. Wasn't that like right before the night practice? And they had to have like
Yes.
I think Clint
Yeah,
Kubiak threw some balls.
the
Like they had
one
Andrew
practice where
Janoko, yeah,
yeah, like everybody looks forward to it, and it's
the
like,
one that
yeah,
you pay
Kirk's not
for,
here. Yeah.
yeah. They still probably pay for it, right?
Yeah. But I guess to answer your question, I mean, expectations as far as being, yeah, he better beat out Sean Mannion, like you said. You want to take a
Yeah,
crack at Sean Mannion's age? I just looked it up.
31.
Oh, that's close. He's 30. I
Okay,
was going to say he
he
was
looks like
like in
he's
his late
39.
20s.
He
Yeah,
looks
he's
like
got
he's
he's got
39.
he's got the bald spot going on, kind of like I do. So I shouldn't really talk, but
Yeah, but
yeah. I mean, like I said, Shawn Mannion should be a coach. I mean, would he make? Is it about money? Like he's just trying to squeeze every penny he can out of the
I
NFL
don't know.
before being an assistant coach? I would think
Yeah,
so. But they're only paying him. They're paying him the veteran minimum. It's only 500K.
but
How much?
no, it
Yeah,
goes up. The longer you are in the NFL, the higher your veteran minimum goes up. So if he's being smart. He's gonna get paid if he's a player longer. So he's being smart, but
why
the
not?
team is not. The team is not being smart and obviously, yeah, he's cheap, but you can use
We
that
got a
roster spot
salary
for
cap crunch. Let's bring Mannion
yeah.
back.
You can also use a roster spot for someone else, and like
Hmm.
this, the previous regime had roster spots for him. They drafted they not drafted. They signed an undrafted free agent, Dan Chisena or whatever. He's just on the roster because he's a gunner. Like all that stuff needs to be gone. Like you cannot have a specific roster spot for a gunner and a backup quarterback who is terrible. Like you need your gunner should be like the fifth string wide receiver or the fifth string cornerback or something like that. Like not or Kane Wangu. He should be the gunner because he's super fast.
Matthew
But
Slater for the Patriots, though, is an exclusive gunner.
I understand. But
Yeah.
but
The
but
Patriots
everyone
also
is
aren't in cap hell, but
yeah, everyone's also not the Patriots. I know we like to compare. They were the gold standard. So it's easy to like say like they did this and they did that, but like do not have one roster spot for a gunner. That okay, this is my rant for the day. Just don't have a specific roster spot for a gunner.
I
That
feel
that
like
has always bothered me.
you need
What?
more respect for the ultimate weapon, Dan Chisena. The
No.
ultimate weapon, 4, 3, whatever it is. Just
No. Cut
Respect
him.
the ultimate weapon.
Cut him. Cut him. Ruthless. Just you're fired. Cut him. All right, let's get to our last topic, which has to do with possible breakout players for the Vikings next season. So almost every year we see, players take some big steps in their development. We've seen in the past guys like Adam Thielen, Brian O'Neill, Daniil Hunter. They've all had seasons in the past where they've, taken their play to the next level and had a breakout performance. I would like to say Justin Jefferson, but he was just ridiculous in his first year. But he did progress in his second year. So just looking ahead to next season, who is maybe a Vikings player that you think could have a breakout year in 2022?
Well, we're running back the entire roster, right? So let's not run back.
Yeah.
Let's run back another guy. How about Irv Smith Jr.,
Yeah.
who I talked a little bit about earlier in the
Yep.
show. Last training camp, everybody was ranting and raving about how good he looked, how good he is as a receiving weapon. We saw it at Alabama. He was able to get out in space and make plays. I trust Kevin O'Connell's ability to make that happen because Mike Zimmer kind of used him like Kyle Rudolph at times. Whereas,
Yeah.
okay, catch the ball, fall forward, whatever. That's not Irv Smith's game. He's a move tight end. He needs to get out and get those yak yards. So I think that if he stays healthy, and it sounded like he was running routes at OTAs,
I
I
would hope
mean,
so. He got hurt
it
last
is, yeah,
August.
it's conceivable to see him finally have that breakout season. And it sucks for the Vikings because this is a contract year. So if he
Mhm.
blows up, they have to pay him immediately.
Well,
But
they don't.
yeah, or they don't.
This
Yeah,
is a new
there is
regime. They
that.
could let him go. They don't have to pay people now. They can make their own
Because
decisions.
they have Johnny freaking Munt.
Right.
My
Well,
guy.
I think I think the new regime, hopefully they start prioritizing players, not paying running backs, not paying safeties, not paying uh tight ends. Like pay the positions you need to: quarterback, receiver, pass rusher, cornerback. Other than that, okay, offensive line too. Like other than that, just draft guys, sign cheap guys. You don't need to have the best guys on your roster for every position. I would pick KJ Osborne, who went from 0 to 50 catches last season, after they discovered that he's not a really good punt returner, which is pretty much the only reason why they drafted him. And then they're like, "Oh, this guy can catch. Let's get him on the field." It turned out to be pretty good. Now he gets to be in an offense that is likely going to feature a bunch of 3 receiver sets, so that gives him more opportunities on the field to make plays. So I think just having that more opportunities gives him more chances to get the ball in his hands, and I think he did well. He showed well that he progressed, and I think another off season working with Kirk Cousins, who's probably going to be more comfortable with him this year. He might be that security blanket that we've seen in the past of like Tyler Conklin was last year, CJ Ham. Maybe KJ Osborne will be the new joke next year that Kirk Cousins checks down to. And I also have Armin Watts, who defensive tackle for the Vikings, has been with the team for a few years. He seems like he's going to be part of the starting defensive line now that they're switching to a 3-4 base. He's got to be better as a run defender. He's pretty bad at that, but he's a pretty talented pass rusher. He had the 25th best pass rushing grade among 95 interior defensive linemen last season by PFF, and he also finished last season with 33 pressures, which was the third most on the Vikings defense. So, rushing the passer, Armin Watts is pretty good. And if he's, in the starting base defense, he's going to get more chances on the field to do that. And so those are my guys, KJ Osborne and Armin Watts. Those are guys I think will break out. Do you have any more, or Irv Smith your guy?
Well, let's throw this one because I was kind of racing in my head. I mean, you could mention Kene Wongwu, but I
Yep.
don't know what his offensive role is going to be in this offense.
Right. Right.
can he learn kind of a Tariq Cohen like role? I guess maybe you could think, or like maybe an Alvin
Hope not.
Kamara like role.
Hope he doesn't
Yeah,
become
yeah,
Tariq Cohen.
not the exact Tariq Cohen. That thing sounded like a truck tire going off. By the way, like I don't mean to make fun of it, but I mean I saw the
Yeah,
video
poor
and
guy.
like it was just like he just goes back and like boom, and like did a balloon go off or what? It's
He's
like he
got
popped a tire.
some
But
bad luck.
man, that was something. Remember, what was his name for the Chargers? Braden Oliver, the
Yeah, Brandon Oliver.
fullback. Yeah, and like they played a preseason game at US Bank Stadium. That was the one where Teddy went off and everybody was excited,
Oh
and then
yeah,
his leg exploded like the
he
next
juked. He
week. But
juked.
like,
He juked too hard. Yeah.
yeah, maybe it was a precursor, but like Brandon Oliver, he put his foot down and like his Achilles snapped, and like you could see it on the replay, like
It was
go
like,
all the way up his leg. Yeah. Like just
well, Kobe had that
but
too. Kobe tore his in the middle of a game before, and you could see that like
R.I.P. Kobe.
you can see, yeah, for sure. You can see
Yeah.
it come like in his calf. And I think Terrell Suggs did that before too. Like this video, it might have been like a basketball game where he like tore his Achilles. Yeah, Achilles is that sounds terrible because you can hear it.
Yeah.
Just it's not gruesome, but it is because of that noise.
It's like a lampshade going up your leg.
But yeah, Tariq Cohen, terrible injury luck. Probably done in the NFL. You never know. I just saw
But like
Georgia
I
Love.
was
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry, but like I was
No, go
saying,
ahead.
as far as you could use him in kind of a satellite back role. Why don't I go
Yep.
with this? Lewis Seen.
Oh,
First round pick. Um, what I like about him is his insane athleticism. I mean, on
yeah,
draft night, I think we were kind of like upset more about the trade, and then just
for sure.
kind of looked up, seeing we're like, this guy's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to learn like not to, decapitate people on defense. But I mean,
Legally.
yeah, yeah. The number one thing I like about him is that he can attack. He's got that speed. And, I was listening to Arif Hassan, who was on the Will
Mhm,
Reggett show
mhm,
earlier this week. And he was talking about, with that illusion of complexity, you're going to have guys that are in one spot of the defense and need to go all the way to the other very quickly. And a guy like Seen has the speed to do that. He's got the speed to rush the
yep,
passer. His coverage skills need a little bit of work. But I mean, I think what they're going to do is they're going to use him as kind of this linebacker role where
mhm,
sometimes he'll be in the box, sometimes he'll be in coverage, sometimes like a jack of all trades. People say Tyrann Mathieu a lot, but I mean, Philip
yep,
Buchanan or not Philip, Deon Buchanan. I dated
yep,
myself
yep,
there.
yep,
Deon Buchanan for the Cardinals. He was a safety in college. They moved him into a linebacker, and he was just a player that could attack.
Who was the
Matthew
Rams guy?
Collar,
Who you remember the Ram
Mark
was it
Barron.
Mark? Yeah, Mark Barron. Yep.
Yep. Yep. And I
Same sort
mean,
of thing.
Matthew Collar was talking about him. He said Scene's just this big dude. So I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
he
big.
can go in the box. He can do. I mean, I think I'm just excited to see what he could do
Yeah.
as far as just an all around weapon for this defense.
Yeah, you talk about his coverage. He's got the speed and the length to, if he misses a step or whatever, he can catch up pretty fast, without, giving up too big of a play. Yeah, and he seemed like a really bright dude. Uh, like it already sounds like he's assuming a leadership role on the defense, which is pretty cool for a rookie to come in and do that. You don't really see that too often. But
Especially
yeah,
when your quarterback won't, when he's like in his fifth season, just like, hey guys,
yeah.
Dalvin, you go ahead. Jefferson, I'll be over here.
Yeah. No comment from me. Yeah, no, it's I like Lewis Seen. The Vikings liked him. That's clearly the guy they wanted. I feel like the whole time. I don't even think they wanted Kyle Hamilton. I think they preferred Lewis Seen over Kyle Hamilton in the draft, which is why they're okay trading back and getting more picks. So yeah, I'm excited about seeing him. I could even would you consider does Cameron Dantzler have the potential to break out? Because I think he's like PFF wise, he's been pretty good, but like eye test wise, he's still got a bunch to work on, and I feel like Zimmer was pretty hard on him. And it looks like he's put on a little bit of weight this offseason as well, muscle wise. So maybe a fresh start for him. Maybe that could help him. Could you see him maybe like breaking out?
That's possible. I mean, definitely. I think he's going to get more of a fair shake with this defense. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what he did in training camp. He did not have a good preseason for what it's
Right.
worth, but like
He got
Zimmer
burned by.
was just like,
Didn't he get burned? He
it
got
was,
burned that Broncos game, right?
yeah.
Remember that?
KJ Hamler went to
Yep.
the house in that game. Yeah. I mean, I think last year was kind of a test in maturity for Dantzler. And by the end of the year,
Yeah.
he was playing as a starting corner. I don't ever see Dantzler becoming like a Pro Bowl Xavier Rhodes shutdown corner.
Right.
I mean, if he could be, I mean, people
Trey
crap
Waynes.
on Trey Waynes all the time, but
He was solid
he was
when he was
average.
healthy. Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just couldn't. He just couldn't play the ball. Like he's
If
right there.
Trey Waynes was
Dantzler
a third
can,
round,
yeah.
if Trey Waynes was a third round pick, he would have been great. But he was a first round pick, so he had those high expectations. He was expected to be a Xavier Rhodes type player, but he wasn't. He was just solid. And I think a lot
And
of people that's what bothered people, including myself.
and people got ticked off because Marcus Peters was so good. You know,
Yeah.
he was the anti Waynes. He could stick with a player and make interceptions.
He's also
So
on what, his fourth team now?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so
Also, kind of, he's got some issues,
yeah,
but
you know. Take what you take the good with the bad, I guess, with Marcus Peters. He's still pretty good. I think he was injured last year, right? Tore his ACL.
mhm.
So he's coming back this year. But that's all I got. You got anything else?
um, not really. I mean, OTAs are always like they're always a weird time because I mean,
Very
like we
optimistic
said,
time.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, this definitely wasn't a negative episode. I could tell you that much
We
right
just
now.
like
But I mean,
seeing the
even like
highlight. We like seeing those 1 minute highlights of guys just catching those slow motion passes in the air. Like that's what time of year it is. That's time
people
to
mic'd up,
overreact. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they're in front
yeah,
of the camera, like, "Ooh yeah, baby, yeah, ooh." Like Zadarius Smith was. What did he say? "Oh yeah, let's go."
yeah.
Like
Listen, I like him. He's good. He's good. He's good for morale. You can see Daniil
he'll be
Hunter like
in the locker room. Yeah,
you can see Daniil Hunter cracking a smile next to him. Like Daniil, Mr. Stoneface. Like he's got a
you
different
can.
mentality this year.
I will say this: you can tell the players have kind of, it's almost like Mario
They
beating
feel
Bowser
free.
at
Like
the
they got
end.
a
Yeah,
monkey off their
like
back or whatever.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
evil Zimmer, the fire breathing dragon has been
Yeah.
slayed, and now Kevin O'Connell, the knight in shining armor, is like, go be yourselves, talk to
Yeah.
the media. Kellen Mond, he is a real person. Look,
Listen, man,
he's not he's not
I'm
like
sure
Garrett Wilson, who I'm not
yeah.
convinced is a real human yet.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Listen, I'm sure it wore on them. I'm sure, like, especially when you're
mhm,
losing and it's the same way and Zimmer's grumpy and everything, like, it was great at first. It was what the Vikings needed when Zimmer first arrived there, it was exactly what they needed, but
mhm.
towards the end, it just players changed, the league changed, and Zimmer did not, and it didn't work. So
Are you going to buy Zimmer's slingshot that he's selling?
I am not. I did see his daughter comment in the comments though, like clap back at somebody who was like, "Oh, now he's selling everything to get rid of his memories." And she was like, "Actually, he sent out a statement and he's just, he doesn't need it because he's a grandpa. He doesn't want to get in a crash so he can hang out with his grandkids." I was like, "Oh, okay." But it was like from the Mike Zimmer Foundation, but it's clear his daughter runs it, so it's clearly her responding. But that's the latest we've heard from Zimmer. That's like the first time we've heard anything from the Zimmer camp, I guess, since his firing. I do follow his son on Instagram. He goes to like basketball games and stuff, like the Mavericks or whatever. But and he's been
Big
quiet too.
Luca
Like
guy.
he doesn't have a job either. So who knows? And he's young.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that
we'll see.
I don't know.
All right.
Great way to end
Thanks.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Thanks for joining everyone today. If you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video. We appreciate everyone who is already subscribing and keeping up to date with all the latest episodes. For those of you who are not on video, make sure to subscribe on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. But until next time, Chris and I will talk to you later.